Um, Hello lovelies, welcome back. Welcome if you're new, if you've never been here before, hi, you're very welcome. Nice to have you here today. Today is the continuation of my Viking trousers from the 30s theme, and I'm going to finish it. It's been quite the journey. I didn't manage to get all of the stuff in that I wanted to, because it didn't all make sense, it didn't all look good. So I had planned to add a little piece of tablet woven ribbon to the front waistband, but that just didn't, it just ended up not fitting in, so I left it out. Maybe I'll have an opportunity to use it in a future project. So yeah, if you haven't seen the first installment of this project, I'll link it either somewhere up here or I'll link it in the description box, definitely. But yeah, if you want to go and check out the preparation process, the pattern amendments and sort of like mock-ups I made prior to cutting into my beautiful, beautiful fabric, you're more than welcome to check that out. So yeah, but without further ado, let's go.
Okay, so here I started with just transferring the changes and adaptations I'd made to the original pattern from my template onto some wrapping paper. The materials I'm working with, I got this interfacing. It's pretty stretchy, so I didn't end up using it. The instructions said to get interfacing, so I bought it anyway, but maybe I'll be able to use it on another project sometime later. These buttons really just screamed Viking at me when I saw them. I don't know. Kind of reminds me of runes. I know these are far from runes, but it kind of has that sort of vibe to me. First time for me using Gütermann 100% cotton thread. I can highly recommend. This was really nice to work with. These two are embroidery yarn. I did use them for the embroidery that I did. I also tried them with the tablet weaving. It worked quite well, but sadly it was too short. And then the wonderful, wonderful fabric. This is a gorgeous, very heavy double weave. So yeah, let's go. Just spacing out the pattern pieces. I positioned the front of the legs so that the inside seam would land on the selvage, which was very handy. Also, my tailor's chalk completely gave out on me and didn't work on the fabric, so I ended up using a pen, but let's have some ASMR. And here I'm trying a technique that didn't really work out because I made a mistake. I'm basting together the sides of the front waistband, just the thread mark effectively, because this was the back side. I'm marking through onto the front side to sort of see where to place my embroidery motif. And this is also a very nice technique I picked up on Instagram. Rather than having to draw on the motif, just kind of like place the baking parchment on the embroidery area and then just tear it off once you're done. Which works out really nicely. It's a bit fiddly to get off. I didn't sort of like make enough stitches, but it basically perforates and it comes out quite nicely. They're definitely sisters, not twins. But they came out really nice, and I'm definitely going to keep using that technique. Here I'm ladder stitching, which is something I think designed by Desiree showed on her Instagram. This is such an amazing technique. I am never going to use anything else ever again for darts, because look at the magic that is going to happen in a moment. Just reaching under to grab the end of the thread. And it's genuinely, it is such a great technique. I love this so much. Now just iron flat and then you're good to sew. That is, I like, so gorgeous. I mean, look at that. It's yeah. And here I'm sewing my darts. There's going to be a lot of sewing. There's going to be so much sewing. To be fair, the sewing itself was super quick. Really, it maybe took me an hour. Just sewing time. But there's so much preparation. This is pinning the front to the back on the inside seam of the leg. Sewing the inside seam. To finish the seam, I'm flat felling effectively. I don't know what that's really, it's not really felling, but it's, I think it might be a welt seam to just like get the seam really flat. And this nearly broke my brain. This is an invisible zip. It's not quite the right color, so it's not really invisible, but it's as close as it's gonna get. And I found this really, really tricky. I'm just thread marking through from the inside to the outside, just kind of sort of to get it into the right position. So that's the thread marking. It's nicely visible from the other side. And I'm actually basting in the zipper because there was no way that was going to work with pins. So that was quite fiddly and took for absolute ages. I think that was the single thing that was the longest, because I just wanted to get it sort of on the right line and in the right position, and the sewing was so fiddly. Even with the zipper foot, it was really fiddly. And now we're over to the other side. And when the first side was fiddly, this is even worse. Like, to line it up properly at the bottom and then basting it in again and just have it not move on you while you're sort of, anyone who does that on a regular basis. But I do like how it came out, so it's definitely worth the work. Really carefully, because that's the end part, and the actual zip itself, like the I don't know what it's called, the movable thing, was in the way. And here I'm just kind of like sewing the first couple centimeters of the crotch seam from the zip onwards, because it was just too bulky otherwise to go under the foot. There you can see the welt seam. And positioning the front waistband, which also was a joy, because it's slightly curved. Like you've got to put a concave curve onto a convex curve the wrong way around, which is fun, but it came out nicely. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. And this is actually sort of something where I'm really grateful that I did all the mock-ups, because the sort of like the mechanics of the thing were already kind of like in my head, and it was already working and it was already fine. More onto the side seam of the leg. And it really is true as what Costuming Drama says. Sewing is easy. It's the preparation that's can kick your butt. The facing, I did a lot of thread marking for this off camera, because it's literally just a running stitch. And I do so apologize for the quality here right now, because it's so dark, and I just need to do something about my lighting situation. This is just pinning the waistband, but it's just like you can't see bloody anything. And now it's too bright. It's just, I really need to do something about the lighting. Right, and this is sadly the tablet woven ribbon that it was like at the bottom it either covered one of the Yule goats, or it just didn't, I just couldn't make it work, and in the end I just left it out. I did some understitching, which is something I picked up literally on the day from Evelyn Wood. I'll link her video down below where she explains understitching, because she's got the school of historical sewing, and it's really, really good, and I am fascinated how well that turned out. Stitching in the ditch, again, I was super nervous about this, and I actually made it work on the first time, and it looks fantastic, and I'm so impressed. Never done this before. See, it's just, yeah, it's really neat. Final fitting test, just to sort of like iron out any issues. It's a little bit of a thing there, but that's probably because of my sewing, not because of the fitting. So yeah, it's not bad. And I just kind of like raised myself onto the balls of my feet and stood back down. And it's a lot of fabric that was left over there. I was a little bit shocked about that. I just, tried to even it out with the width of my ruler. Again, using the trusty pen rather than the tailor's chalk, because that just wouldn't. It just wouldn't. So marking up there and marking my seam allowance. And just trimming the excess off, which there was a good amount of. That's probably 2 inches or 5 centimeters. That's sort of like was excess. Yeah, just folded over the seam allowance, and I am marking because it was quite a wide hem. Just sort of sewing along. And I didn't catch all of it. I didn't catch the entire thing. There was some that was just kind of like loose, and I'm now just tacking it down, anchoring the thread, and just tacked it down. And this is where the double weave was really convenient, because you could just kind of like wriggle the needle in between the 2 layers of fabric, and it would never ever show on the outside. It was kind of like an interfacing in itself, which was quite cool. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing until I got this fabric. And this fabric is so nice. Like, it's really, like, it's hefty. And I'm just kind of playing around with the buttons a little bit. These are purely decorative. Just playing around with the positioning and how I want whether I want them, because they only have 2 holes. So I was kind of like determining whether I wanted them to be horizontal or vertical. I went with vertical in the end. Slightly unorthodox maybe, but that was the only way I could think of that, how to sort of like get them even and not sort of like end up in a weird place with the button. And yeah, I don't know, my camera just would not focus. It's sort of like it was yeah, I'm just kind of like tacking these on relatively loosely. Because it's kind of likely that I'm going to have to take it in or change it at a later date, just to sort of like adapt it again. But now we go to the reveal. Ta-da! I am thrilled with how these came out. They are really nice. They are really comfortable. I've already worn them outside. They are pretty flattering, I think, with my newly acquired American Duchess shoes and the embroidery. I kind of almost feel like it's good that I didn't put the tablet weave on there, because it might have been a bit much. Yeah, there's a little bit in the back where the Zip just didn't quite meet the top, but other than that, it's really good.
So yeah, that is my new item of clothing. I am surprisingly happy how it came out. I've already worn it outside and I'm surprised that it doesn't feel like a costume. Like, it's not sort of, it doesn't feel out of place. I was worried that I would have a feeling of like, oh my god, people are looking at me because this looks homemade, and it doesn't actually look homemade at all. I mean, it's sort of, it has its flaws because, yeah, I don't have an overlock, for example. I would have liked to finish the inside seams a bit differently. If I had an overlock, I would have overlocked them, because I think flat felling might make it quite bulky because it's quite a thick fabric. Also, as you probably saw, I did not end up putting in pockets because it's more than likely that I'm going to have to take it in at some point, because I know myself, I know how things fluctuate with this. Also, we had a play going on, so things were a little bit out of the ordinary. So yeah, I left the pockets out and I only kind of loosely tacked on the buttons due to the fact I'm probably going to have to make some amendments to it in the future. But yeah, in general, I'm quite thrilled how it came out. I didn't quite listen to the instructions in terms of the hem. The hem said to just turn it under and then tack it on lightly from the inside, but you see my hem from the outside and I quite like that, to be honest. So yeah, if you liked the video, definitely feel free to like, share and subscribe, as they say in the YouTubes. Other than that, it was really nice having you here with me for this little adventure, and I shall see you in my next video. Wherever you are, have a lovely day. Bye.